Mojo has come out with this framework, which is the LIFE framework: list, inspire, fundraise, and engage. Right. So, Nikon, I think I will answer your question as we go ahead. I think it's a valid question, and we'll talk about that. So, in terms of what are we going to do? So, list is basically listing your donors and potential donors. I always talk about potential, creating a prospective donor list, inspire donors with your story, fundraise from these donors with your story, and engage, nurture them, and what all you can get out of it, right? So let's move to the first module, which is the list module in this. So why is creating a prospective donor list so important? Very simply put, total number of donations, if I want to break this up into a formula, right? I'm an engineer, so I have to do this. Total donations is equal to the reach that you have. It is the number of donors that you have, the channels from which you reach out, and what your ask is, right? It's a combination. It's not really a multiplication, but it's a combination of these things. So how do you reach out to donors? What are the channels that you use to reach out to donors? And what is the ask that you have? Now, ask is something you can keep working on, keep trying to make it better. But once you've got to about what you think is 70 to 80% okay, you're not going to increase your number of your donations by just making your ask better, right? Making your story better. You have to obviously have some hygiene element around it, but beyond that, it's not going to make too much of a difference. Channels are also limited. You have a fixed number of channels. You have email, you have WhatsApp, social media, right? They help to amplify your message, but again, it's a limited number of channels. Where you really have potential is actually where it is unlimited in terms of increasing reach, is the number of donors, number of prospective donors, right? And how many prospective donors you can have. This is something which is completely within your control. And after you've got a hygiene level of communication, figured out your channels, you have to keep focusing on increasing your donor list. Let us understand currently what is your list size. So I'm going to just share a poll. One is list. Okay. So if you all can tell me, what is your current list size? I've shared a poll with you. What is your current list size? Let's understand that. So Subodh, you have asked that how can I raise funds as there is a lock-in of 3 years for CSR? I think retail fundraising is the answer to that question, right? So hang on to this thing and hopefully you get some insights into how you can raise money with retail fundraising. That's what this session is about. Okay, I'm going to stop the poll and share the results with you. Okay, so now very interestingly, nearly 60% of y'all have said that y'all have less than 100 donors in your donor list. Okay, please note this number. 60% of y'all have said y'all have less than 100 donors in your donor list, and nobody above has said that they have more than, okay, one person has said now that they have more than 5,000 donors. I am actually going to screenshot this because this is very, very interesting. So let's remember this number. 60% of you all have said less than 1,000. 1% or 3% have said greater than 5,000 is your list size. Okay. Now let's walk through how we can actually increase our list size. Remember what I said in the beginning, large number of donors. Retail fundraising is about large number of donors. If you have small number of donors, it's not even worth your time to do this. But here's the strategy to create a large prospective donor list. Many of y'all in the initial poll said that we don't know any retail donors. You don't need to know donors. You need to know people. All 50 of us on this call today are retail donors, right? You probably have at least 500 numbers on your phone book, right? Maybe 5,000 contacts on LinkedIn, right? If I ask you to download your Google contact, you'll come out with at least 2,000 contacts. All of these are people you know you have interacted with, and they thus are prospective donors. And you need to realize that your circle of contacts is much bigger than you think. So here's the strategy to think for an organization in terms of the number of donors. Your first circle, board members, advisory board members, about 10 people, right? How many donors you had over the last 5 years? How many volunteers you had over the last few years? I'm just put some random numbers in these brackets to give you a sense of this, right? Your staff, some newsletters if you're running, customers. Are you selling products that you have customers, consumers? Do you have a program wherein your alumni today can become donors tomorrow? I bet you this would give you about 1,000 prospective donors. In the next circle, we go into a second level of contact. People you may not be very closely connected with, but whom you could reach out to. These are connects of founders, CEOs, senior management, all your CSR donors, all your institutional donors. There are SPOCs out there. They're all potential donors, right? Alumni of your organization, whether it's staff, it's interns, attendees at your various events and seminars, vendors, service providers, again, easily above 1,000. Now, if you add up all this and you keep thinking in one layer beyond this, peeling the onion, as we would say, you get to third, fourth, sixth level. And they say, at the sixth level, we all know each other. Everyone can connect to somebody with a sixth degree of contact, right? So these are various ways in which you can look at estimating your donor list. Now, I'm going to ask you guys, let's take about, we don't have too much time, so maybe about 2 minutes for each of you to estimate your potential list size. Maybe we'll take 5 minutes. I know I'm running overboard, team, but we'll just do that because I think this is an important exercise to do for each one of you to know what is your potential. So can you put down, and I'm giving you a framework out here for each of these buckets, how many potential prospective donors you have in each of these categories? Let's put this down and then, let's see where we are. So okay, we'll settle for 3 minutes maybe, if that's fine with everybody. So we have Radhamani, you saying, how do you identify retail donors? Radhamani, I think first of all, we must understand that everybody around us is a donor. Is a prospective potential donor. We now need to convert these people who are prospective donors to actual donors. But everyone around us is a retail donor. We cannot go and find people who donate and then say, okay, if this person is a donor and then they will, that's why they will give to us. Everyone is a prospective donor and we need to make a list of all these prospective donors. So let's take the next 2-3 minutes. If you can just put down numbers, right? How many board members, donors, volunteers, potentially that you have. I would love for everyone to make this list. Okay, so I don't know who is there from EduChange Foundation, but yes, that is going to be what we will briefly discuss in the next module, which is the Inspire module. Uh, but I think one thing you will have to take away is you would have to be ready to be pushy. Because you have to remember, you are not asking for yourself, you are asking for others. So a little bit of pushy is not bad. It's important. Okay, I think if while the rest of you are yet figuring this out, maybe those who have finished can respond to the next poll that I have. And now let's see what is the size of your prospective donor list. After doing this exercise, what do you think can be the size of your prospective donor list? If you were to include everybody that you knew, if you were to include everyone in your phone book, you were to include everyone in your Gmail contact list, if you were to include every one of your Facebook followers, your LinkedIn contacts, what do you think could be the size of your prospective donor list? Many of you all, I think, you're yet trying to put those numbers together. I'll give you 1 more minute to calculate what your numbers are and put them down out here. What do you think is more likely to be your prospective donor list? Okay, we'll end it. We've got far fewer responses this time, but let's look at the results. Because as always, they are enlightening. Right? So earlier we had 60% of y'all whose list sizes was less than 1,000, less than 100, sorry. That number has reduced to only 15% now. Only 15% of y'all feel today that your list sizes are less than 100, and close to 43% of y'all have put up list sizes of between 250 and 1,000. Right? So what was largely less than 100 has already come above 100. If I include 101 to 250, that's about 48 and 19, 67. So 2/3 of y'all feel your list sizes are between 100 and 1,000. Right? Through our program, and we'll talk about how this life framework helped organizations increase their list sizes to more than 5,000. They all started where you were, but the program helped them to increase their list sizes to more than 5,000. And we'll talk about that. So let's move on to the next part, which is inspire. So NGOs need to inspire their donors to donate. Now, this comprises of two parts, the story and the ask. Right? Sorry. Why they're having a delayed response? Yeah. So NGOs communicate to donors with a story, right? You have to have some form of story. And then the donor will visit your website and make a potential donation to a donation option. When I say donation option, this is the ask that we talk about, right? Either a donation option or a campaign, a specific requirement that you have posted. This is typically the narrative of how a donor actually communicates. Now, you'll find a lot of elements around how to write a good nonprofit story. right? It's a story either about the founding of the organization, about the founder, about the beneficiary. It could be various other stories as well, which we'll discuss in the Engage session. But all of these stories, I mean, you'll find enough resources around this. And I know a lot of you all know how to do this. There are many classes going on, many different webinars go on about writing a story. What we often forget is about writing a ask, right? Let us understand what an ask is, because like this comic shows, you can't just go up to say, just give me money, right? Why do you need to know where I'm giving money? So an ask is a specific request for a specific amount of money. It is composed of two elements: what the money will be used for and how much does it cost, right? It is not an appeal. It is not the story. An ask is very specific. So what is an ask? Asks are things like this: educate a girl child for a year by providing books, uniforms, and teacher salary. Support a senior citizen from diabetes by providing monthly medical expenses. They typically compose of 6 elements. One is the name of the ask. Second is a little bit of a description, which one could have if there is a bigger description that is there. A photograph, definitely mentioning a tax benefit, what the cost is and the type of the cost. Is it an open cost? Is it a fixed cost, right? Can donors donate anything, or have you put down certain slabs for people to donate? So this is what an ask is comprised of, and you need to make this ask very specific, right? Because all of this is what helps eventually in getting repeat donations as well. Now, why do we need to have amount? I think I would like to just stress on the point that amount is very important. Lot of time people put up saying donate how much ever you want to, or just give some don't give people an anchor point. But amounts are very important because people have no idea how much to give to you. Most people give out of impulse. They do not have a budget that they can give out of. They don't even have not even thought about the budget, right? So it is important for you to ask for something specific, because it prevents thinking, saves time, increases donations. And how does it increase donations? That's what I want to say. So there's research around this, right? Research says that 50% more people give when asked for a specific amount. And there is a 12% increase in average donations as well when donors are given a suggested amount. So all of this actually helps if you have a cost specific amount to actually get more, right? And having a high default value is better for loyal donors and a low default value for first-time donors, because they have to get used to you, they have to know you, they have to come to know you. So that is generally an accepted practice. So once we, kind of figure out what our story is, what our ask is, that's when we start fundraising, right? That's when we have to really get our act in place and we go out and fundraise. So what do we do when we go out and fundraise? First of all, you should have a way of getting money online, right? And there are two options, obviously: a crowdfunding platform or a payment gateway on your own website. Crowdfunding platforms will typically have a 5 to 20% cost to you, while having a payment gateway on your website will typically have a 2 to 5% cost. So while crowdfunding platforms say no platform fee, and a lot of you all must be wondering why is it, because most of them say no platform fee, but they all have payment gateway charges that range from about 2 to 4%. But more than that, there is actually a tip which is left by the donor, which could be 5 to 15%. 5 to 15% additional donation is going to the platform from your own donor. Right now, this is money that could actually come to you, but it's not coming to you. So this is something that you're missing out on. And if you could use this extra for your transaction charges, administrative overheads, and so on. So please keep this in mind when deciding how you're going to actually fundraise. And then obviously start reaching out. You have emails, you have social media, WhatsApp works great, calls work even better, right? The more personal the approach, the better it will work. The more generic the approach, the less better it will work. Let me put it that way. Right? So, and also figure out what those content formats are, what those things are. And no one sees every email, sees every social media post. So don't worry about donor fatigue. Use a very wide variety of stories and content formats in this. Now, once you finish the fundraise phase, we move on to the engage phase. Both online and offline activities are very, very important to engage with donors. So in online, you could have monthly newsletters, social media, some kind of blog or podcast. In offline, some of the examples could be visits, volunteering opportunities, events that you conduct that you get people to come for. Some sample ideas for a newsletter would be having a 3-article newsletter. One is a human interest story. Like I said, it could be a beneficiary story, donor story, volunteer story, employee story, founder story, lots of different stories. Sector news, right? Have some information about the sector. Donors are giving to you because they care about the sector you work in, whether it is education, whether it is livelihood, whether it is health. They care about that sector. Can you be their go-to service for getting the latest information about the sector? The last is organization update. Talk about your organization. I often see newsletters where the entire newsletter is about the organization. Nobody is interested in reading such a newsletter. Make a newsletter where only 1/3 of the newsletter is about your organization at best. And even if you can avoid that, even better. So one example of an offline engagement activity is a donor day, which is a very powerful activity where you actually do something, you curate an activity, call donors to your establishment on a particular day, and actually have a very curated visit, which is planned to the detail, right? So make sure that you do that with a lot of care and figure out what that plan is and put all of that together. I want to talk about all of this, and I know we've gone through this a lot, but this is a framework which is just not theoretical, but is actually practical in nature. And I want to take you through a case study of this in practice. We ran this with a pilot cohort we call in a program that we call Danavriddhi. The Danavriddhi program was a cohort-based program with training and one-to-one coaching with 20 organizations. And as a result of this program, while 3 NGOs before the program had donor list sizes of more than 5,000, after the program, 15 NGOs had list sizes more than 5,000. The average growth in list size was 12x. The median growth was 4x. More than 16 out of 20 NGOs experienced 100% growth in list size. Right? So this is a program that can actually help you increase your list size. And the interesting anecdotes, everyone had such small lists, 100, 200, 500, that they could work with the free program, the free email marketing platform that comes mostly with MailChimp. 19 out of 20 NGOs had to later on shift to a paid marketing platform because their list sizes grew so much. Right? I think that was a very interesting indicator to us. And then we ran a fundraise campaign. Organizations raise money. Small organizations actually managed to raise close to 50% of their budget through this one campaign.